So good morning everyone and welcome to our presentation on the online incorporation process for community interest companies, or CICs. My name's Donna and I'm the team leader in the Office of the Regulator of Community Interest Companies. The regulator's role is to oversee CICs and support them in complying with our regulations. As case managers, we help the regulator to deliver this support. CIC incorporation is one of our most important responsibilities as case managers, as it enables us to get CICs started on their path to making a difference. Today's session will provide you with some more information on how the application process works for you as potential applicants. To achieve this, we'll be taking a look at the online incorporation process from start to finish. We'll look at the specific documents you'll need to prepare before beginning your CIC application. I'll be covering each section of the application and showing you screens from the online process to give you an insight into how it looks. Finally, we'll cover what happens after your application is submitted. But before we get to that, I think we should start with CICs themselves. A community interest company is a subtype of an ordinary limited company with much of the same structure but a specific community purpose to its activities. CICs can span from local community groups to multi-million-pound businesses, but they all have this community focus in common. Additionally, while the company structure is largely similar, CICs have specific restrictions on their assets. This ensures that any funds or assets of the CIC are ring-fenced for community benefit across the company's lifespan. We call this restriction the asset lock. A CIC can be formed in much the same way as an ordinary company, with some additional steps to ensure they meet our requirements. Specifically, all CICs must meet the community interest test. But what is the community interest test? It's our way of ensuring that a prospective CIC is suitable by confirming its community focus and the work it plans to do. For our purposes, we define community as any group of people with a common characteristic. This encompasses a broad spectrum of people and activities. A CIC can work in a local geographic area, like Cardiff, for example, or with a specific group like the Muslim community or people with disabilities. To pass the community interest test, you'll need to provide us with a clearly defined community you plan to support. We'll also need to see your proposed activities. In other words, you'll need to tell us how you plan to help your community. It's worth noting here that some activities will not pass the community interest test. Specifically, political activities are restricted, and CICs proposing to engage in these activities will be rejected by our case managers. Under our regulations, political activity involves campaigning for or supporting a specific political party, but also advocating for a change in government policy. If your organisation plans to take part in these activities, then the CIC model may not be right for you. We assess a proposed CIC against community interest test based on the information sent in their application. Specifically, we ask CICs to submit a form called a CIC 36. The CIC 36 is made up of 4 sections that allow you to provide us with the information on your chosen community. We recommend filling this in before you get started with the online application. In section A, you'll need to describe your specific community. Then, in section B, we'll need some information on the company's intended activities. You also need to explain the specific benefits you expect your activities to have. In this section, you can also provide information on how the company intends to use any surplus it generates. After signing some declarations in section C and D, your CIC 36 form will be all ready to go. As CICs differ slightly from normal limited companies, we also require them to submit a bespoke set of articles of association. These articles need to contain a handful of statutory provisions in order to comply with the relevant legislation. In other words, these clauses are what make a CIC a CIC. You can find the statutory provisions in our model articles, which are available on our website. Feel free to use our templates, as is by customising them with your specific company details. If you'd prefer to use your own custom document, you need to make sure that the statutory clauses are included verbatim. Be careful, some of the clauses rely on specific numberings to make sense, and if you move them into your document, you'll need to make sure the numbers still match up. Both of these documents are uploaded during the online incorporation process. We'll touch on them again later. So let's take a look at exactly what the process involves. Incorporating a CIC is largely the same as for any ordinary limited company. Some of you will likely be familiar with how the broader company incorporation journey looks. The process begins with a reminder on identity verification. As you might know, Companies House now requires all directors to prove an identity verification personal code when creating a company. It's a good idea to look into this and gather your directors' codes before you begin the process. Having all the right details to hand can make the application process much quicker. Once that's all in order, we can then get started. First things first, let's confirm that the company will be a community interest company. Choosing yes here gets us started on the CIC application. The next step is to decide if your company will be limited by shares or limited by guarantee. A common misconception is that CICs must be limited by guarantee, but in fact, CICs can choose either model when they incorporate. As shown on our screen, limited by guarantee is the most common model. About 87% of our CICs choose this one, but you can select either. You'll need to decide on which model works best for your company. When it comes to choosing a company name, you're able to choose from various name endings. CIC, C.I.C. and Community Interest Company are all acceptable name endings for your CIC. You can also choose from Welsh name endings if you prefer. You won't need to add your name ending in the box, we'll add it for you. Also, make sure not to add the limited name ending here. All CICs are limited companies by default, so you don't need to include that as part of the name. As with all companies, you'll need a registered email address. This must be a valid email where the company can receive digital reminders and other communications from Companies House. You can use the presenter's email for the application or choose another one. You must also provide a registered office address for physical post. You'll need to choose a UK office address by providing details in the relevant section and then choosing yours from the list. The company's registration region must match this address. So for example, if your address is in Belfast, you'll need to choose Northern Ireland when prompted. Next up is business activities. As we mentioned, a CICS community can be any group of people with something in common, so that activities can be equally diverse. Companies should give an indicator of their planned activities by choosing standard industrial classification codes, also known as CIC codes. Typing some keywords in the box will bring up a list of relevant CIC codes to choose from. As previously mentioned, CICs are not permitted to engage in political activities. We'd advise you not just to select a CIC code that indicates political activities. Now it's time to provide some information on the company's officers. These are the directors and other individuals involved in setting up and running your CIC. First, you'll need to confirm if anyone in the application has sent a request to Companies House for protection of their personal details. It's important that you check this information with all the involved parties to make sure that their information is appropriately protected. In some cases, a previous secure register form may mean that you can't continue with the online process, so it's worth checking that before you start. Your directors are the people responsible for running the company and are legally obliged to keep up with sending information to Companies House. Like any company, a CIC can have as many directors as it wants, but for the sake of time, we'll be applying with just one director today. You'll notice another reminder here about identity verification details too. Directors need to give their full name, including any previous names, as well as their nationality and date of birth. Then they'll need to provide their personal IDV code. They'll also need to give information on addresses. Companies House asks for 2 addresses from directors. The first is a correspondence address where Companies House can reach the director with communications. They'll also need to give details of a home address. After confirming the identity verification statement and another check for secure register history, you'll be able to review your information given and carry on. Of course, if something doesn't look right, you can always go back and amend it at this stage. Once you've registered your directors, companies limited by guarantee will need to give a list of their guarantors. The guarantors put the guarantee in limited by guarantee. They provide a sum of money called a guarantee that they agree to contribute if the company ever finds itself unable to pay its debts. That might sound a bit dramatic, but don't worry, under UK limited liability law, this amount can be as low as £1. Most guarantors choose to provide this amount, so their own personal liability is limited at less than a first-class stamp. As shown here, your directors can be guarantors, so you can reuse the same details from earlier on. You can also add additional guarantors if you have other people who'd like to be involved in this way. Once you've confirmed their details and the value of the guarantee, you can move on from this section. The last group of people you'll need to inform Companies House about are PSCs, or persons of significant control. This is a category that exists to inform the public and Companies House about who controls or influences your company alongside the directors. A PSC exists if they meet certain criteria of control over your company. If you do have a PSC, you'll need to tell Companies House about them here. Directors can be PSCs if they meet the criteria. They'll need to give some information on their involvement in the company. We've got another secure register check here, this time for PSC details specifically. Double check with your PSCs if they've ever submitted a request for protection of their details. Of course, if your PSC hasn't applied to the register, you can proceed without this step. If you check yes, you'll get a second screen where you need to confirm the level of protection they applied for. People who have applied for the highest level of protection can't proceed with the online incorporation service. If this applies to your director or your PSCs, they will have received info on how to set up a limited company. If this happens to you, it's best to check with them on the next steps. If you haven't applied for the highest level, you can select no and continue. Now, all you need to do is explain what control your PSC has. Anyone who meets the conditions should be included as PSC. This can include shareholdings over certain percentages and other forms of control, like the ability to appoint and remove directors. Once you've selected the relevant boxes, you'll be asked to confirm the PSC has verified their identity. Finally, you'll need to review the PSC details. You may also have to double check your secure register information here, just in case. Once all your company officers have been added, you get into the final stretch. You need to choose who will authorise the application. This depends on whether you're applying for yourself or a third party. After that, it's finally time to upload your KIC documents. Remember earlier when I told you about the KIC 36 form? Well, in case you don't, here's a quick recap. The KIC 36 is how a company tells us in the regulator's office how it is going to help its community. The form requires filling in some information about your chosen community, as well as your planned activities, so we'd advise getting it filled in before you start this process. That way you can upload with no stress. You'll need to upload in PDF format. Double check the file name is correct before you move on. You'd be surprised how many weird and wonderful documents we get instead of the right KIC documents. Make sure you aren't sending us a copy of your bank statement. You'll also need to send your articles to us in PDF format. As a reminder, KICs need a bespoke set of articles since they need to meet a few conditions to qualify as a KIC. These clauses, which we call statutory provisions, are available as part of the model articles on our website. As before, make sure you've uploaded the right document and not your local pizza delivery menu. Then click to confirm. It's also worth double checking the company type listed on your articles. You need to make sure that the company type, limited by guarantee or shares, matches the one you chose earlier on. To wrap up your application, you'll need to agree to form the company. Then you can authenticate the application. After this, there's one final opportunity to check all the relevant details you've submitted on the company and its officers. As the page shows, the application cannot be altered or added to once you've checked the box and passed this point. The very last thing you'll need to do is provide payment details. As of January 2026, the online incorporation fee for a KIC is £115, but we'd always advise you to check before you apply in case of fee changes. You can choose to pay by debit or credit card or via PayPal. For card payments, just add and confirm the card details and you're good to go. Once the payment is processed, your application is complete. Well done. You'll see this screen with a reference number. Make a note of this as you'll need to quote it if you need to contact us about your application. We'll also send you confirmation in an email to the presenter's email address, as well as confirming the payment. Once you receive confirmation of your application, your details will be sent to Companies House and the Regulator's Office. You'll usually receive an update in less than a week. As applying for a KIC is a two-part process, your application will need to pass our checks and also meet Companies House standards for a new company. As a reminder, we'll be reviewing your documents to make sure all the statutory provisions are included in your articles. Our case managers will also apply the community interest test to the information in your KIC 36 form to ensure that you have a solid community focus. Once we've taken a look, Companies House will conduct their review of your company information to assure it's all appropriate. If your application is unsuccessful, you'll receive what we call a rejection notice, with some details on the reason for rejection. Don't be discouraged by this. We're always happy to provide support with rejected applications, and you're free to apply again once you've made the required changes. You need to go through this application process again, unfortunately, if you receive a rejection from us. On the other hand, if the company is successfully incorporated, you'll receive a notice of this from Companies House. At this stage, you'll also receive your company number, which is unique to you. At this stage, your incorporation is complete and you're ready to get started with your community interest company. We wish you all the very best in making a difference to your community. With that, we'll now be handing over to the Business Support Service for their presentation. But before I go, I just wanted to flag our contact information. The KIC Regulator's Office is available to provide support with all of your KIC queries. We can help you with locating model articles, putting together your KIC 36 form, or just with talking through the KIC model before you commit to it. You can reach us via phone during weekdays or email us at any time. Additionally, our website of gov.uk has much of our guidance in text format, as well as template documents, blogs and checklists to help you out. Please feel free to check it out if you're thinking about becoming a KIC. If you're looking for support with more general incorporation queries, we'd advise contacting Companies House. A lot of the information we've covered today, like directors' details and companies' addresses, falls under company law rather than KIC regulations. Additionally, the new identity verification requirements are a Companies House initiative. We've been able to advise on these in detail, so we suggest you contact Companies House directly if you need support with these issues. We've included their contact details on this slide. To wrap up, thank you so much for joining us today. As mentioned, the Regulator's Office is here to support you with all your quick queries, so please get in touch if you need any further information on becoming a KIC. Now over to Jordan from the Business Support Service. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Donna. Hiya, everyone. I'm Jordan, I'm a Business Support Advisor here at the Business Support Service. I'm just going to wait. I'll get my slides up to show you when I'm able to. I just wanted to remind everyone as well, just at the top of your screen, you can ask questions, a little question box. Feel free to ask away any questions that you do have. We'll be more than happy. We've got some colleagues there that can ultimately answer them for you and support you with that. There we go. So, as I said, I'm a Business Support Advisor here at the Business Support Service. Now, who are we? Very important question. Now, the Business Support Service is a free government information and guidance service, and we offer a multi-channel service operating across the whole of England. It forms a key element of the government's business support provision, and we work on behalf of the Department for Business and Trade, DBT. It's worth noting if you're in Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland, we do have some counterparts there as well that can help. So if you're in those areas, you can reach out to them. You can also reach out to us and we can give you their information for you. Now, what do we do? Well, we help all businesses, from those thinking about starting a business for the very first time, all the way through to those businesses that have been within families for generations, that are established and already trading. Now, our advisors can signpost you to information on national and local schemes and resources to help your business to start or grow. We can help answer some questions as well in relation to elements of information on starting a business or whether you're looking at maybe importing or exporting. Now, We can help with finding localized support in your area, signposting you to relevant funding options, direct you towards national support schemes as well. We can give you information to make informed decisions, such as legal structures, which at the very beginning stages of any business is so important because we want to make sure that you're making a decision based on factual information and much more. Now, as I said, we can also help with international import and export to help you understand tax, though it is worth noting we are not trained tax advisors, so we can only help with general information and considerations. We can help with regulation and legislation, employment of staff, including apprenticeships, intellectual property, as well as innovation. So I just wanted to share a bit of an example on how we can help someone. In this scenario here that we've got was a training education provider who were looking to start a business. Now they were needing general business startup advice, funding, and general legal advice. Now, when we say it was general startup advice, what we are ultimately seeing is giving them the core foundations of knowing what to do, understanding things such as names for businesses, understanding elements such as the legal structure element of it all, and if they're looking for funding, the funding side. Now, for this particular scenario, we did discuss GDPR, cybersecurity, safeguarding, and other legislation as well that may affect the business. We signpost it to organisations such as Lawyers for Your Business, as they are better equipped to provide support in certain areas such as law. We discussed local and national finance options, as well as specialist funding for training providers. We referred them to tools such as the Business Support and Finance Finder, British Business Bank's Finance Hub, Grant Finder, and other resources to identify funding options. Now, we provide business planning and financial forecasting templates so that the customer could start to create a working document, which is so important at any stage as business planning. Why? Because it helps you understand the viability of your business. And by doing so, you can then identify how much funding you also need. And how does it work when you contact us? A lot of people wonder this because when you contact an organization for the first time, it can feel sometimes a little bit scary. Well, if you call us, our advisors will take information to set up a customer record. So you'll speak to one of our lovely tier one advisors. And ultimately, what they'll do, they'll create an account in our system if you've never spoke to us before. They'll take some important details, things such as your name, your email address, your telephone number that we'll use for security, your postcode as well, so that we can email you. We can also identify the localized support. They can provide some general information if they can on areas. And then they can arrange an appointment with one of our tier two business support advisors. And ultimately, what a tier two appointment is, it's a one-to-one appointment that can be provided over telephone or Microsoft Teams in a video format. And what our tier two advisors do, which I am one, we ultimately carry out a bit of a diagnostics on the business. We'll have a bit of a chat with you to gain a bit of an understanding of where you're at in your journey, whether you're at the very beginning, whether you've done a little, or whether you've been trading for a while. We'll have a conversation in order to identify the areas of support you need. And then we will provide general business information and will signpost you to specialist advice should we not be able to answer the questions as well, and details of the appropriate local and national support available. Now, it's worth noting that these appointments are completely free. We're a free service. And we can also offer follow-up calls. So if a customer can arrange a follow-up call from the initial appointment or contact the helpline for further bookings. It's worth noting at this point, we will endeavour to answer any questions you have at any point of your business journey. So do know we're here. We're not a one-stop shop. And as I say, we are free and ongoing service for businesses located in England, but we do have counterparts in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. And just to finish off, this is how you can get in touch with us. You can give us a call on 0800 998 1098. We've also got an email there, and we're on some of the popular social medias as well. So do feel free to reach out. We do also have a live chat if you'd rather go down that route. But that was us in a bit of a nutshell. And if you're looking at starting a business, whether it be a CIC, I'm assuming it's going to be a CIC if you're here today, do reach out. reach out and we'll look to help where we can answer any of your questions. But thank you for your time today. And yeah, Rebecca, I'll hand back over to yourself.
Thank you, Jordan. A really good presentation. I appreciate there's a lot of information being shared with everyone today. You will receive a recording of the presentation, so you can look at it at your leisure. That will come out in a couple of days after this recording, okay? And it will also all go on our YouTube channels. Apologies for the initial teething problems with the sound, but I hope that was helpful. And please look out for further webinars. We're always hosting new ones at Companies House. And if there's anything else you'd like to say, we've got a short questionnaire which will appear after I close this webinar today. We'd really appreciate your feedback, and any suggestions of any future webinars would be great. Thank you everyone today for attending, and thank you to our presenters. I'm going to close this webinar now, and thank you everyone. Bye for now.